Welcome back to my channel, sports fans. Okay, let's get into this one right here. Will LeBron James destroy the NBA playoffs? Right? Will LeBron James, now that he got a first round exit, destroy the playoffs? We'll talk about that. Anthony Edwards versus Jamal Murray. We're going to talk about that. And let's talk about the playoffs right now. The Knicks had this game and they blew it. 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 Wow. I just don't know what to say in this series. This series is so wacky. It's a pretty good series. I don't think any of these teams is going to the NBA Finals. Cavs versus Orlando, another good series. And this is what I mean. Instead of us promoting our young talent in the Knicks game versus Philly, the Cavs versus Orlando, we have to talk about LeBron James. This is where the NBA is right now. We have to talk about a loser, a 21-year loser. 4-6, only 2 statistical titles, 2 bronze medals, missed the playoffs 4 times, got swept 3 times. What, this guy has about 4 gentlemen sweeps in the playoffs finals, 3 super teams, countless teammate trades, countless coaches traded. Now he attempts to hit a woman. This is the not to mention the meltdowns and choke jobs. And this is the guy that they have been talking about for 21 seasons. Nothing interesting about what this guy does and says. What I'm talking about does on the court as far as a positional basketball player with real positional skills. There's nothing interesting about this guy. When he talks, there's nothing interesting about this guy. Can he ever talk without there has to be a lead guy always talking to him, whether it's the media, whether it's JJ Redick, whether he's on that, what podcast is that? Oh, I don't know what podcast that is. I forget it. The podcast where he says that there made me the greatest. There's always got to be some type of narrator for him before he talks. This is how much of an idiot this guy really is. How much this guy's entire career is scripted. I'm being serious. Every time you hear this guy talk, there's somebody asking him a question. It's a script. I'm sorry. It just is. So you're excuse me. So you're trying to tell me this guy can't have his own podcast without people asking him questions? Why not? Why not? I'm asking you, why not? Because everything this guy says is always idiotic. Remember, after the Denver game, when he got beat 4-1, he's getting back. His family is the most important thing now. Getting back to his family, spending time with his family, all this googog that he says. He knows it's stupid. That's why if it was real, he wouldn't have to say none of this stuff because he knows it's bull. It's fugazi, like his career. So let's see if he's honest about what he's saying. The most important thing now that the playoffs is over is his family. Okay. Let's see if this guy starts talking about send some little crazy tweet, because that's always how it's going to happen. He's going to send some tweet, or somebody in the media is going to hear something, an unnamed source says this about LeBron. Watch what happens. Because the media is going to try to take the heat off of them a little bit. So they're going to be like, we're going to act like we don't want to talk about this guy. And then boom, we got to talk about him now. He done said some shit. He done said something. Talking about leaving the Lakers. Talking about opting out. Watch what's going to happen. And he's going to destroy the rest of this playoffs. And all this is behind the commissioner. When I tell you guys, listen to me. The commissioner runs this league. Okay? When he says, if he said tomorrow, for the next season, I want hand checking. I want elbows in the post. I want a slower game. I don't want LeBron saying stupid stuff. I don't want no longer ESPN and Fox dissing my past great players that built the foundation of the NBA. That's what's going to happen. He's the commissioner. So when you saw, or when you heard JJ Redick, who is it, Nick Wright, calling past guys slow, unathletic, plumbers, guess who told them to say this? Adam Silver. They have to get the approval through Adam Silver to say these type of things about his company, the NBA. You got to remember, Fox Sports, ESPN, they get the contracts from the NBA. So whatever they say on ESPN and Fox, that has to go through the NBA first. That has to be approved what they're going to say. They just can't go off and start saying stuff. So essentially, Adam Silver and the guys behind Adam Silver in the corporate office have ruined the NBA. Adam Silver, I mean, I could do a whole video on this. Adam Silver pretty much told these guys, I need you to, the league is going to be 4 spot-up shooters at the three-point line and one guy in the middle, a center in the middle, if that sometimes. This is where the game is going to be played. What? So again, I ask you, how are these real coaches? Nobody has their own style, their own scheme. There's no positional players. So you can't teach positional skills. How are these head coaches? They're not. They're not. They're not. They're not. What is your practice like? 4 guys sitting at the three-point line, launching 27 plus threes a game. That's why when you see Joker had 20 to 25 rebounds, what does that mean? There's nobody under the rim. He could not grab 20 to 25 rebounds like that in the playoffs in the 80s and 90s. It's impossible. Because everybody is playing positional basketball. You're battling another center, a power forward, a small forward, and sometimes guards for rebounds. And all these people, I'm sick of them, that think they know basketball. And I'm going to say it, uncut hoops. One day he's like the guy that thinks he knows so much about basketball. The next day he's telling us that Joker is the greatest center of all time. Because he's grabbing 20 rebounds, 21. Who are you grabbing this against, though? Who are you scoring against? Who are your great defenders? Yes, Anthony Davis is pretty decent. But after that, who? These guys is front running. It's hard to respect. I don't care if this guy has 100,000 subs. He done had his channel for a long time. And I respect most of his content, but when he starts to say Joker is a top 5 greatest player of all time and #1 offensive player of all time, versus what defense? One minute you want to put stuff in perspective, and then next minute you don't want to put stuff in perspective and use context. It's ridiculous. Let's give these guys credit for who they are in their era and what they're doing in their era. Let's stop saying of all time, because they're not playing the same basketball as the 2000s. Hell, not even the 2010s, really. The 90s, the 80s, the 70s, the 60s. It's an easier game. They don't have to play positional basketball. They don't have to hit the weight room. They don't have to play defense. They don't have to have defense played against them. What are we talking about? And this is what makes me mad, because I hear these guys' channels, and it's hard to respect these guys because we don't want to just respect their eras. And this era isn't playing basketball how it used to be played, which is fine to me. But they done started a whole new NBA, and they want to say these guys are the greatest of all time. I can't do it, man. So let's talk about Anthony Edwards in this matchup with Minnesota and Denver. Let's talk about it right now, because we already know LeBron is going to find some way to destroy this matchup. Watch what happens. So I'm sick of hearing about Anthony Edwards in the sense that this guy has did nothing. I don't care what kind of season he had this year. He wasn't top 5, and I don't think top 10 in any box metric. And I think Joker was #1 in all of them. Who was it? What's this guy's name? Luka. He was top 5 in all of them. Let's stop. Anthony Edwards wasn't top 5 in scoring, assists, rebounds, blocks, steals. What are we talking about? In a league where 2 plumbers statistically in winning championships is dominating this era, and we're talking about Anthony Edwards? For one, this guy's, I'm not trying to beat up on his height, but he's only like 6'3", 6'4". He's not built like Michael Jordan. I don't care if this guy can dunk. Kobe could dunk. Vince Carter could dunk. A lot of guys could. Dominique Wilkins could dunk. What are the similarities? There's no comparisons. Put up the numbers and stop talking. Put up the real numbers. The steals, the blocks, the rebounds. Even assists. Okay, I'm going to tell you what right now. Go look at Jordan's from 84, 85, all the way to 89, 90. Go look at his numbers. This guy was averaging like 32 points, 6 assists, and 7 rebounds on damn near 3 steals and a block against big men in real defense. So Anthony Edwards in this no-touch era should just be over exceeding what Jordan did in the 80s. Over exceeding it in the no-touch era. And they're shooting just like crazy amount of threes. Nobody's in the lane. I don't want to hear about Michael Jordan. I want to hear about LeBron at ESPN and Fox And, you know, some of TNT, they got this guy as 1 or 2, right? You guys are already jumping to Michael Jordan. What about LeBron James? He hasn't even done what LeBron James has done. LeBron's first 4 or 5 years. Ain't even did that statistically. How's he going to go to Michael Jordan? And the fact that 2 plumbers are running this era, it's got the NBA looking stupid. You cannot explain how 2 plumbers statistically in championships is running this era. Yes, Larry Bird statistically was getting off, but not like Michael Jordan. And he had a team full of what? He had 4 other Hall of Famers on his team. Larry Bird did. Let's don't get it twisted. So yes, I want to respect these guys for their play in their era. Anthony Edwards. Let's get excited about this guy for him in his era. Let's get excited about Jamal Murray and what he's doing in his era. Joker in his era. Luka in his era. But I've already lost all complete respect for ESPN and Fox Sports. Now I'm starting to lose respect for some of these channels that I thought I had respect for. Because they're sitting up here lying and front running about these new guys in this era by comparing them to past eras and telling them, saying they're the greatest of all time or top 5 or all this stuff. Remember, a lot of dudes is front running. What if Denver gets beat, right? What if they happen to get beat? What then? The whole NBA is shook up. A lot of these guys' channels is shook up. And Denver only won 1 championship. All these stats that Joker done put up. Come on, man. Let's give praise. Let's respect this era. And this is why where all the LeBron hate comes from, all this Jordan versus LeBron, because we just couldn't respect this guy in his era. We had to start these comparisons. And they're doing it again with Anthony Edwards. And this is how they have trashed the NBA, because we never did this back in the 80s and 90s. Start comparing. Everybody was just their own player. They were great. They weren't comparing Larry Bird to nobody. Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, Isaiah Thomas, Patrick Ewing, David Robinson, Kareem. Nobody was comparing. We were just appreciating greatness until the media